Hello everyone, this is Charlie from the Bloomingdale Public Library. Today we're going to discuss digital archiving, specifically with regards to photos, slides, and negatives. If you're interested in converting VHS tapes into a digital format, we already have a video on that topic on the channel. So today we're going to be using the Ion scanner. Ion is just the brand of the device. It works a lot like a digital camera. So essentially we're going to be taking pictures, and depending on whether it's photos, slides, or negatives, we'll be using the light to go either in front or behind the image. So just a note, the device itself is capable of storing pictures where you can then convert it to a flash drive by transferring to a computer, but I generally don't recommend doing that because the device only holds about 10 to 15 pictures. So if you had a lot of pictures to do, you'd be doing a lot of transferring and deleting on the device. Instead, what I recommend is picking up an SD card or an SD high capacity card about that size. The extreme capacities that tend to run a little bit larger do not work. So again, SD or SDHC will be okay. SDXC won't work. The device simply won't acknowledge it. So when you're all set to do your scanning, you come into our computer lab, and the first computer when you come in is our digital archiving station. So you would sit down and you'd have your SD card ready, and you'd put it into the SD slot right on the side, right below the cable there. And once that's in, you hit the power button just above the scan button. Give it a second and it'll eventually come up. If you don't put the card in before you turn it on, the device will turn off or I think maybe reboot itself. So once you do that, you're going to wind up on the menu screen. It's a little hard to see. I apologize for that. On the menu screen, what you do will depend on, again, if you're doing slides, photos, or negatives. You would use the left and right buttons to go back and forth. The mode button is at the top. That'll always take you back to this menu, and enters to confirm your selection. So with the SD card in the machine and the machine turned on, we have a couple options. Let's go ahead and start with photos. If you wanted to scan photos, the first thing you need are the photo holders. So you go to the computer aid in the computer lab and pick up the photo holders. They come in 4 by 6 inches, 3 by 5 inches, and 5 by 7 inches. So you use the one that's most appropriate to the photos you intend to scan. Next thing we need to do is have a look at the sliders at the top and the bottom of the machine. The one at the bottom will adjust the menus. So depending on whether you're using the film scanner or the photo scanner, you're going to have different menu options. We're going to be using photos. When you slide the bottom menu slider, it's going to give you a warning on the screen just to remind you to make sure that the slider at the top matches the slider on the bottom. So when you slide the slider on the top, you're going to feel some mechanical resistance, and that's going to adjust whether or not the light is in front or behind whatever you're scanning. So let's go ahead and take a photo holder, take a photo, and all you do is slide the photo in through the top, like that. Once the photo's in the photo holder, you slide the photo holder in this top slot like that. It should just drop right in. Okay, so the photo holder is in place. The sliders are in place. Now we have to look at our options here. So our first menu option is capture. That'll take us to the capture screen when we're ready to start taking images. Playback, that's to look at what's already on the SD card. Effect, let's have a look at this. I'm gonna hit enter. We have the option to scan in black and white or color. I'm going to choose black and white. Anytime you make a menu selection, it's going to take us back to the capture screen. We're not ready to start taking images yet, so let's go ahead and hit mode to go back to the menu. Have a look at our next option, which is crop. Our options match the size of the photo holders. That's 5x7, 4x6, and 3x5. So I'm going to go ahead and select 4x6 since that is the size of my photo holder. If you choose a crop that's too big, you're going to get some of the photo holder in the image. If you choose one that's too small, you're going to crop out the outer edges of the photo. So I'm going to select 4x6. And again, it takes us back to the capture screen. We're not ready yet. So I'm going to hit mode. And we have one more option, which is resolution. I'm going to hit enter. And our options are 5 and 10 megapixels. For most purposes, 5 megapixels is just fine. 10 megapixels will take a much larger image. It might be better if you plan on printing something on a larger size. Just for reference, a 1 megapixel image will be about 1 megabyte, whereas a 10 megapixel image will be about 1.7 megabytes. So if memory is a concern, you, again, might want to stick to 5 megapixels. And I'm going to select 5 megapixels for our use today. Again, that takes us back to the capture screen. Just have a look at some of the other menu options. You have language, which will change the language of the menus. USB, MSDC. If you were scanning without an SD card, it would save the images directly to the device, and you'd hit enter on USB, MSDC in order to look at the images on the device on the computer. So it's like when you plug your phone into a computer in order to get the pictures off. That's what choosing USB, MSDC will do. And that'll bring us back to capture. So now that we've done all of the options, we've done all the sliders, we can go ahead and start capturing images. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And that takes us to this screen here. And if you like, you can hit enter and it'll let you choose some of the levels for red, green, and blue. I generally discourage trying to do any sort of image editing or color correction on this machine. The LCD screen itself is probably not very accurate, and you're going to be sitting at the archive station anyway, which has the Adobe suite on it. So you can go ahead and open your photos up in Photoshop, and you'll have a much more robust set of options and probably a more accurate picture of what you're looking at. So you can hit enter in mode to go up and down, left and right to adjust the levels. But I'm going to go ahead and leave everything as it is and hit scan to get out. That actually won't take an image. It just gets us out of the menu there. Now, with everything all set, I'm going to hit scan. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but once you do, it gives you the option to save. The other options are cancel and home, which will take us back to the menu. I'm just going to go ahead and select save and hit enter. And that captures the image. So from here, what you would do is take the photo holder out, take out your photo, put in a new photo, slide it in, scan, enter, take out the photo holder, swap it out, put the holder back in, scan, enter, and that would be your workflow. Generally speaking, it's a bit of a process. If you had a whole lot to do, I would probably recommend using one of our flatbed scanners located in the lab instead. It tends to be a little bit quicker and people are a little bit more familiar with it. The next option we're going to explore is scanning slides. So to start doing slides, you go to the computer aid in the computer lab and get a slide holder. It's a little different than the photo holder in that it's actually a hinged two pieces of plastic held together with magnets, and you'd open it up in order to put your slides in. So with it open, I'm going to go ahead and place the slides in. It holds 4 at a time. And like I said, it magnets shut. So there's an arrow on one of the sides. That's the side you would start with, and you would feed it in from the right side of the machine. It kind of clicks into place when a slide is loaded into place. But before that, we need to have a look at our sliders and options again. So because we're doing slides instead of photos, we're going to go ahead and slide this over to the film scanner instead of the photo scanner. And we're going to slide this bottom option over to the film scanner. And you'll notice we get the warning again to make sure that the sliders both match up. So with this new menu set of options, let's see what we've got. We've got capture, which is the same as before. Playback, same as before. Film. This is where things are a little different. So we have the option for slides, which will give you a color representation of the slides. Negative film, which will do color correction for the negatives. And again, we've got black and white. So I'll select slides, hit enter, and just like before, it'll take us to the capture screen after we make a menu option. I'm going to hit mode to go back to the menu and see what else we've got here. We've got resolution. It's the same as before with 5 megapixels and 10 megapixels, taking about 1 megabyte and 1.7 megabytes respectively. I'm going to set it to 5, hit enter, takes us back to the capture screen. Again, I'm going to hit mode. And you'll notice there's no option for crop. So once you choose the resolution and what kind of media you're scanning, we're ready to go to capture. Hit enter. And like I said, when you first put it in from the right, you'll feel it kind of click into place. Once it's in place, it's just as it was before. You can hit enter to do any sort of color corrections. Again, I recommend using software to do that instead of the machine. Hit scan to get out. Hit scan to take the image. And I know it's hard to see, but it says, just like I said before, scan, cancel, and home. I'll choose save. Hit enter. Slide it over. Again, you're waiting for that click. Scan, enter. Scan, enter. And one of the slides was too dark to show up. But that's your basic workflow. You take the slides out, put 4 new in, stick it in from the side. See, it takes a sec for the light to kind of adjust to itself. Again, scan, enter, slide it over, scan, enter, scan, enter, scan, enter. And that's your general workflow. To finish up, we're going to look at scanning negatives. First thing you need to do is go to the computer aid in the computer lab and get the holder for the negatives. It only works for 35 millimeter film, so be aware. Just like with the slides, it opens up, held together with magnets. And then to insert the film, there's tiny little notches. You would match the notches up with the ones on the film. Snap it in place. And just as you did with the slides, you slide it in on the right side, and it should kind of click into place when it's in frame. Looking at the options, the sliders are all set to film scanner, just as they were for the slides, so that's fine. The menu options are all going to be the same, but you'll remember that there was a film option that we set to slides before. We want to make sure to set that to negatives this time, and this will do the color correction for the negatives. So hit enter. Wait for everything to come in to focus there. And just as you did before, scan, enter. Slide to the next one. Scan, enter. Scan, enter. Scan, enter. Pull the holder out, replace the film. Start the process again, scan, enter, scan, enter, scan, enter. And that's the general workflow. So that's all I've got for you. I appreciate you tuning in. Again, if you're looking for VHS to DVD, there's another video already on the channel. I recommend you go have a look. I hope to see you in the lab.